mega corporations are a very big deal these days. There are about 2 or 3 of these companies that exist in the modern world, and they are primarily tech companies that have achieved this status by capitalizing on cutting-edge modern technology and probably a bit of optimistic speculation. But there is one corporation that has snaked its way through history that may have very well been the largest company in history.
A company was formed called the Dutch East India Company. The Dutch East India Company became the world's first publicly traded company in 1602. Instead of investing in each individual ship on different voyages, investors could buy shares in the company, meaning they were getting a stake in a whole load of ships instead. This meant the company could charge more for their shares and therefore had more money for even more ships and even more voyages.
A lot of these larger expedition companies came together and formed the United East India Company, which was granted exclusive rights to trade in the goods of the Far East in an attempt to cut out the riffraff of these individual expeditions. The company would, of course, still capitalise on the profit to be had in shipping spices from east to west, but it would control the whole process. It would own the ships and the ports and the plantations. It would employ its own sailors and give people a single entity to invest in. And that
it's the root of the licorice plant that we use to flavor licorice candy. Lastly, for this region, we maybe have the most common spice currently being used in the world: sugar. A lot of people might disagree with this, but if you think about it, it's just another plant-derived substance we use to flavor our food, which is exactly what every other spice is too. Whether or not you consider it a spice though, sugarcane, the plant responsible for 80% of our sugar production, is thought to have come from this region as well. Nearby are what's called the Maluku or Moluccas Islands in Indonesia. However, the actual size comparison side by side of the world's 15 largest islands, which in order are Greenland, New Guinea, Borneo, Madagascar, Baffin, Sumatra, Honshu, Victoria, Great Britain, Ellesmere, Sulawesi, the South Island of New Zealand, Java, the North Island of New Zealand, and Newfoundland. Now, there's a lot of interest. For starters, here's Indonesia's actual size placed over the United States, and the distance from one side over to the other is actually greater than the distance across the entire continental US. And for a European perspective, the distance across Indonesia is greater than the distance of Ireland from Uzbekistan. Or for another perspective, here is Indonesia when compared to Russia. Indonesia is really, really big.
How did a state as small as the Netherlands come into a position to control a colony almost 50 times its size and half the world away? Muslims and Buddhists, Hindu kingdoms, and over 600 native ethnic groups. In the end, they will all be subjects to the Dutch Republic. In 1600, a trade mission under Stephen van der Hagen concluded a treaty with the ruler of Amboina. The Dutch were allowed to establish a fortress. The abilities of the Portuguese and the Spanish was a cause of great concern. Furthermore, the formation of the English East India Company threatens to undermine the established Dutch trading routes. These factors convinced the Dutch that only through a united national effort can they secure and expand their trade, and thus the Dutch East Indies Company was formed. Dutch States General, it was granted monopoly on trade in the regions between the Cape of Good Hope and the Magellan Straits, the power to make treaties with the local rulers, build forts, maintain armed forces and garrisons, and install officers of justice. In the mainland Netherlands, each significant port city was to have a VOC chamber, with the biggest one being in Amsterdam. Reflecting the entrepreneurial spirit of the Dutch, each chamber would set out ships independently, but the profits and losses were to be shared by all. Following the founding of the company, the Dutch increased their efforts in maintaining and increasing their trade network. New factories were established in Java, Makassar, Ceylon, and mainland India. Spice market in Europe was limited. Further European competition in the archipelago was going to encourage the native rulers to sell the spices at a higher price, while at the same time, English merchants were to cut the selling price of the spices back in Europe, severely reducing the possibilities of a profitable trade. Therefore, starting in 1608, the Dutch fleets and governors operating in Indonesia were ordered to monopolize the trade and out